The daughter of renowned filmmaker Ron Howard and writer Cheryl Howard, Paige Carell Howard, has shocked Hollywood with the revelation that her parents nearly separated many times despite being together for more than 50 years. Their romance started when they were 18 years old at John Burroughs High School, the one that once garnered them the admiration of Hollywood. Paige, though, chose to shock followers by revealing the truth. Evidently, my folks are the luckiest people in the world. However, the reality is that they were on the verge of divorcing 3 times. It all began in the idyllic 1960s when Ron and Cheryl were young lovers dreaming big and exchanging love letters. Paige reported that when Ron became the center of Hollywood attention and Cheryl fought to preserve her own identity, cracks started to develop. She remembered seeing her mom toss her suitcase out the door and yell, "I can't live like this anymore." They were on the verge of falling apart due to conflicts between Ron's envy and Cheryl's desire for freedom. Paige and her siblings were terrified their family might disappear. Behind all the Hollywood glitz and their beaming smiles, what's the truth? The world was surprised when Paige just stated it. Observe and learn from the video's whole. Ron Howard has been active in the entertainment industry for over 50 years. Making him a legendary filmmaker and actor. He became well known to Americans after starring as Opie Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show and then as Richie Cunningham on Happy Days. Not only is Ron a gifted actor, but he is also a renowned director with a resume that includes Oscar-winning features like Apollo 13 and Da Vinci Code, in addition to critically acclaimed pictures like A Beautiful Mind. His masterful storytelling, which skillfully blends emotion and character depth, has made an indelible impression on cinema. The love that Ron has had for his companion Cheryl, which spans 50 years, is the most extraordinary thing about him. Many people imagine this marriage as a perfect Hollywood fantasy, complete with passionate kisses and sparkling moments on the red carpet. However, the many feelings and difficulties hidden behind the scenes are invisible to those on the outside. Paige Carell Howard, one of 4 children born to Ron and Cheryl Howard, felt obliged to speak up anytime anyone brought up her parents' romance. And she did so because she felt awkward when admirers idealized this love tale. Paige is 40 years old. The truth isn't so simple. Everyone looks at my parents and sees a perfect couple. Paige replied with a voice full of inquiry, her grin shrouded in mystery and her eyes flashing as if to convey something. Our family life, meanwhile, is very different from your expectations. We can explore Paige's story to find out what really went down in this allegedly intense relationship. Under the warm California sun of 1968, 2 11th graders at John Burroughs High School unwittingly embarked on a love story that would continue for more than 50 years. Cheryl Alley was a clever, bookish girl with a passion for writing. Ron Howard, the redhead known for his role as Opie on The Andy Griffith Show, met her. Cheryl was exceptional, according to my dad. He recognized it immediately. One of their 4 children, Paige Carell Howard, grinned and shared. His heart raced, he stated, simply by gazing at mom. In turn, Cheryl was intrigued by this up-and-coming talent because she perceived Ron as genuine yet slightly awkward. Like any other adolescent couple, they went on their first date in 1970. Seeing the comedic picture, it's a mad world, was something Ron did with Cheryl. They went to a little diner for pizza afterwards. Holding mom's hand made dad's hands tremble. He said, Paige let out a laughing sound, even though he was afraid she would find it annoying. His mother really liked it. They began a romantic relationship based on the exchange of handwritten letters, brimming with idealistic future plans. Ron aspired to the position of director, while Cheryl aspired to that of writer. Paige claims that they still hold those handwritten letters in high regard. There were many bumps on the road to marriage. Cheryl finally said yes after Ron proposed 3 times. Cheryl turned it down the first time because she was too busy concentrating on her undergraduate studies in screenwriting and psychology. Paige recalled that her mother was really resolute. "I need time to grow," she said to dad. After Ron's long wait, a small ceremony took place on June 7th, 1975. My dad looked like he was going to pass out from happiness as Henry Winkler teased him. The two embarked on a journey filled with obstacles and abundant love when Paige recalled that Cheryl was only 21 years old. As Ron moved from actor to director, Cheryl became an unwavering rock for him. Despite Ron's Hollywood skepticism, Cheryl never wavered in her support. Almost all of Ron's films, including Splash and A Beautiful Mind, featured cameo appearances from her. "Mom, you are my lucky charm," Dad said. Paige boasted that he was so superstitious that he insisted his mother make an appearance, however small, in every picture. Ron was able to focus on his job since Cheryl took care of the family and raised 4 children, Reed, Bryce, Paige, and Jocelyn. But she kept at her dream of being a writer, whether it was for books or screenplays. Obviously, there were times when their marriage was far from ideal. Despite his intense love for Mom, Dad was incredibly jealous. A voice revealed a disturbing secret, which Paige recounted. Just because Mom was laughing with a male classmate once wasn't enough to stop him from reading her diary. All Mom wanted was the independence to pursue her dreams. Their 1975 wedding was followed by tumultuous years of marriage. As Cheryl pursued a career in writing, Ron, who was attempting to transition from actor to director, became increasingly dictatorial. "My mom told me that my dad once told her, 'You can't just go everywhere like that.'" Paige's expression was one of utter shock as she described her desire to participate in a literary workshop. Cheryl, ever the free spirit, would have none of that. Sometimes the fights would go on until midnight, and Paige and her brothers would hide in their rooms, terrified that their family wouldn't make it. Paige worried for a while that her parents may divorce. Her voice quivered like if haunted by a traumatic event. She recalled that "My parents went silent for a whole week somewhere in the late 90s. As Mom slammed the door and stormed out, lamenting the stifling nature of her marriage, Dad brandished a stack of documents and yelled that Mom didn't value him." Ron once penned a lengthy divorce petition, but tore it up right before the deadline. Despite Cheryl's desire for independence, she was unable to abandon the family. Paige compared their love like a storm, describing their strange gaze and how much they loved each other. Even as they became older, Ron's jealousy persisted. Ron was on the verge of losing it in 2010 when Cheryl made the decision to conduct research for her novel, In the Face of Jinn, in Pakistan, Afghanistan. Dade thought it was a crazy act, Paige recalled. Even paid someone to remotely monitor Mom's whereabouts after he checked all of her calls. When Mom got home, she was furious and smashed her phone against the wall because she knew everything. When Paige's mother said, "If you don't trust me, then what does this marriage even mean?" the family went silent and terrified, and she vividly recalled the escalating tension. These were not little disagreements. Unasked for, Mom agreed to an interview regarding her book, and Dad slammed the table. With an air of skepticism, Paige repeated the story. "Dad tried to dictate my every move, from the clothes I wore to the friends I made. Many times, Cheryl fought back. While Paige and her siblings were little, their mother once departed for a few days with the message, 'I need space to breathe.' They pleaded with her to come back because they were afraid the family would split apart." As Ron Howard dug farther into Hollywood, things got much more difficult. She went from being a kid star on The Andy Griffith Show to becoming a famous director who drew the interest of other stars. Many people's gazes were fixed on the dad, Paige recalled. Numerous stunning young actors and actresses, from small roles in Happy Days to important roles in Ron's films, were quick to express their adoration. "My mom told me the story of an actress who used to write letters to my dad, inviting him to dinner so they could speak about scripts." Paige smiled broadly to emphasize the last words. The tension in the Howard home was heightened by these events. Paige recalled an incident from her childhood when her mom found a huge bouquet that a rising star had delivered to Ron's office. Along with a heartfelt note, Mom lost it, threw the card in the trash, and screamed at Dad, "Who do you think I am, invisible?" Ron attempted to clarify that it was only professional praise, but Cheryl couldn't handle the intimidation and looked away. Such occurrences were common. At a backstage party, an actress once flirted with Ron in front of Cheryl. "Within my dad's circle, my mom expressed her feelings of being humiliated. Her voice was filled with wonder as she confessed, "Paige Hollywood is a monster, and sometimes I fear it will devour our love." Yet, strangely, amidst the storms, Ron and Cheryl always found a way back to each other. I'm perplexed by her choice of words. Even though Mom hadn't done anything wrong, there were nights when she would write apology letters to Dad. In an episode of baseless jealousy, Dad bowed down and pleaded with Mom to forgive him. Though they were painful, the reconciliation served as a glue that held them together. In the aftermath of a fight, Paige saw her parents embrace in the kitchen, completely oblivious to the outside world. Even after all these years, the love between Ron and Cheryl is just as strong. Ron shared a photo of Cheryl on social media with the caption, "The love of my life, the most beautiful at 71 in 2025 to mark their 58th wedding anniversary." According to Paige, her mom read it, merely grinned and commentated that her dad is just as corny as he was when they were younger. Walking hand in hand, they continue to chuckle at each other's jokes. The Howard family, which now includes 4 children and 5 grandkids, is living proof that love knows no bounds. Their success, as Paige said, is a result of their ability to communicate and remain patient. "My parents aren't afraid to argue, but whenever we do, they always figure out a solution." According to her, Dad said Mom helps him balance his emotions, and Mom said Dad encourages her to pursue her writing dreams. Ron was supportive of Cheryl's book publishing endeavors, and Cheryl was the one who read his screenplays before anybody else. They overcame obstacles and shared interests as close as friends. They were also lovers. "Observing my parents taught me that love is making daily choices to be with one another." Paige thought about how unusual it was for Ron and Cheryl to be together in the dynamic entertainment industry. From 2 idealistic teens to a couple with graying hair who still look at one another with love, they went through life together. The affection between my parents goes beyond that. They are like a crew navigating the lifeboat through each wave. Learn about Ron Howard's sacrifices and how he and his family were able to build a happy, peaceful marriage. If we want to know this star's whole life story, we have to start at the beginning. Full name Ronald William Howard. He came into this world in Duncan, Oklahoma in March of 1954. Rance and Jean Howard, who were both actors, had him as their first child. His mom had New York training as an actress, while his dad was a writer, director, and actor. Ron was immersed in the arts from a young age, with storytelling and performing being staples of his upbringing. Ron has extraordinary ability from an early age. He made his stage debut at the tender age of 18 months and made his film debut in Frontier Woman and at the tender age of 2. After receiving meticulous training from his parents, Ron onto the stage as a renowned child actor in 1960, breaking through with his portrayal of Opie Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show. He became a household name thanks to this 8-season stint in the role. Andy Griffith became a significant figure in Ron's life, teaching him the ropes of acting and the business world. With this support and his strong familial background, Ron was able to flourish as an actor and aspiring filmmaker. Ron Howard's love for filmmaking began at an early age, and he went on to have a successful acting career. He honed his vision and distinctive approach as a director by participating in shows like CBS's Playhouse 90, where he was introduced to production procedures, directing, and project management. Parts in The Music Man and The Father's Love, which showcased his profound acting skills, blending genuine passion with humor, further solidified his reputation. Playing Steve Bolander in 1973's American Graffiti was Howard's big break. His reputation as a kid star had persisted for far too long, but he was still famous for his role as Opie Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show. George Lucas's American Graffiti chronicled a gang of youths who spent the final night of summer 1962 aimlessly wandering the streets. Howard proved his mettle as an adult in the part of Steve, a high school dropout caught between love and college while listening to classic rock and roll songs and facing big life decisions. The film's budget was less than $1 million, yet it made more than $140 million, was nominated for 5 Oscars, and caused a surge of nostalgia for the 50s and 60s. Howard was able to join Gary Marshall's Happy Days in 1974 because to the success of American Graffiti, he portrayed the likable, innocent lad next door, Richie Cunningham. In its third season, the show reached #1 on television after a sluggish start. Its popularity came from switching to a multi-camera arrangement with a live audience. For 11 seasons, Howard was the go-to guy for teen friendship and family-related tales. But things weren't always sunshine and rainbows on Happy Days. At first, Howard was the center of attention, but he started to feel pushed to the sidelines as Arthur Fonzarelli, played by Henry Winkler, became famous. Audiences were immediately smitten with Fonza after seeing his self-assured demeanor and leather jacket. Disappointing for Howard, the show's rebranding to Happy Days of Fonza was being explored by ABC, which would have put an end to his prominent position. He insisted on keeping the original name, and ABC was willing to comply. However, all eyes were on Fonza. Still, Howard and Winkler kept in touch and were good friends. The story shows that popularity and success are never completely in one's hands, but that with talent, determination, and supportive relationships, it is possible to triumph against obstacles. Ron Howard became a legendary Hollywood director and actor thanks to his experiences in the films of O.P. Taylor and Happy Days. At the time, Ron Howard was dealing with a really challenging position. Even though he never felt envious of Henry Winkler, he did concede that the strain of feeling like Happy Days wasn't his show anymore was a factor. Backstage dynamics were tight due to Winkler's growing stardom, and Howard realized that management were treating him differently. They no longer placed a premium on him. Some in the media started to wonder if he was relegated to second-class citizenship on his own show. Howard refused to let this discourage him and instead used it as fuel. Determined to demonstrate his abilities beyond acting, he shifted his concentration to directing projects. By the time he left Happy Days in 1980, Howard had already decided to pursue directing full-time and had the tools necessary to do it. He was far from a disappointed actor. Beginning with a Super 8 camera while still a high school student in Burbank, California, he developed a strong interest for directing. He then began to participate contests and win second place in one involving Kodak short films. Howard had a clear goal in mind when he graduated from high school in 1972. He learned framing and visual narrative from the Super 8 films, which gave him a good basis. After finishing high school, he enrolled in the USC School of Cinematic Arts, which has state of the art facilities and strong ties to the film business. As a first-year student, Howard took part in the inaugural cinema studies class. But he landed the role of Richie Cunningham in the hit TV series Happy Days not long after he enrolled at USC. After realizing he couldn't keep up with both performing and school, Howard had to pick one or the other. He dropped out of USC before finishing, but he never stopped learning the ins and outs of filmmaking, observing directors, asking questions, and navigating sets became a regular part of my acting career. After some time had passed, Howard went back to USC to talk to budding filmmakers as a guest lecturer. Unexpectedly, Howard had his first big break in 1977 as a filmmaker. I was granted the opportunity to make my own film by producer Roger Corman if Howard were to star in Eat My Dust. Howard took the part because he saw a better opportunity, even if he wasn't crazy with the screenplay. Ron Coe wrote the script for Grand Theft Auto with his father in a mere 2 weeks. The fast-paced action comedy, which featured automobile chases and colorful characters, was shot in under 23 days with a budget of $62,000. Viewers adored it, despite mixed reviews from critics. Given the director's inexperience and the film's modest budget, the $15 million grossed was a major accomplishment. This was a watershed moment that cemented Howard's status as a renowned actor and filmmaker and paved the way for him to achieve his lifelong dream of directing feature films. For Ron Howard, Grand Theft Auto marked a watershed moment in his career. Under intense pressure to produce a fun picture, he had to juggle a packed schedule with few resources. Not only that, but it was the one and only feature picture in which Howard served as director. Aside from demonstrating his acting chops, the success established his other abilities. His seriousness as a filmmaker started to be acknowledged by Hollywood. In 1982, with the comedy Night Shift, Howard proved he could direct as well as act. This launched his directorial career. Howard, who was famous for his role as Richie Cunningham in Happy Days, desired to venture into uncharted territory. He had directed a handful of low-budget features before Night Shift, but this was his first major test. Michael Keaton, in his debut leading role, co-starred with Henry Winkler and Shelley Long in this picture about a shy bank teller who gets entangled with an after-hours prostitution racket. Despite its unconventional premise, Howard skillfully executed it with a blend of outrageous comedy and genuine moments, resulting in an unexpected smash hit that earned over $21 million from a relatively small budget. Both Howard's direction and Michael Keaton's enthusiastic performance were lauded by critics. Keaton went on to win the Best Supporting Actor award from the Kansas City Film Critics. Night Shift is still widely regarded as one of the most biting comedies from the 80s, and its 93% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes attests to that. Even while the energy level dropped in the second half, its influence was still noticeable. According to New York Times reporter Janet Maslin, Henry Winkler and Howard's working friendship was further solidified by the film. Despite their closeness on Happy Days, working the Night Shift was a whole new ballgame for them. Some have compared Howard's performance in Night Shift to those of groundbreaking comedies of the era, while Winkler demonstrated that he was capable of more than just playing a stereotypical humorous part. Comedy drama and a well-honed narrative rhythm were all hallmarks of Howard's early films, which helped to establish his directing style. After that, Howard wasted no time directing the 1984 romantic fantasy comedy Splash, which starred Tom Hanks as a guy who develops feelings for a mermaid, Daryl Hannah. John Candy and Eugene Levy brought humorous elements, and the connection between Hanks and Hannah made the story credible, while the innovative notion blended emotion with fun. The picture was a watershed moment for Howard and Hanks, marking the beginning of Hanks' stardom and the debut of Disney's new Touchstone Pictures banner. Splash became the 10th highest grossing picture of the year, after earning about $70 million in the US on a budget of approximately $1 million. Howard was lauded by critics for his talent in blending comedy and passion. The picture was still highly successful and nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, despite Roger Ebert's gripes about how John Candy would have been a better choice for the starring role than Tom Hanks. This established that Howard was more than just a passing fad. He was a legitimate filmmaker with the potential to revolutionize the Hollywood industry. Howard further demonstrated his adaptability and cinematic narrative chops with Cocoon a year later, when he proceeded to push himself with an entirely new genre. The elderly inhabitants of a nursing home in Cocoon find extraterrestrial beings that provide them the ability to relive their youth. The film won Oscars for its innovative use of humor and sentiment, in addition to its breakthrough visual effects. Shot on location in Florida's St. Petersburg, veteran actress Donna Mitch, who took home the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, was one of the many stars of Cocoon, one of 1985's most successful films. The picture earned over $85 million at the box office, showcasing Howard's skill at blending emotional humor with science fiction. A few years down the road, with Apollo 13, Howard proved he could transform real-life events into captivating cinema. An oxygen tank explosion in 1970 put astronauts Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred Haise in a life-or-death situation, as the video recalls their NASA moon mission. A last-ditch effort to get back to Earth morphed into the expedition. For the most lifelike portrayal possible, Ed Harris and Gary Sinise were the heads of Mission Control, while Tom Hanks, Kevin Bacon, and Bill Paxton were the astronauts. Howard even filmed scenes on the comet and plane, mimicking brief zero-gravity experiences, demonstrating painstaking attention to detail in close collaboration with NASA. Apollo 13 won 2 Oscars, Best Sound and Best Film Editing, and earned 9 nominations, making it a financially successful picture. It cost $52 million to produce. Even after some time had passed, Howard's brilliant mind persisted in investigating real-life tales. The film chronicles the life of mathematical prodigy John Nash, who battled schizophrenia. It was released on December 21st, 2001. Russell Crowe brought genuine delusions and personal triumph to the role of Nash, and Jennifer Connelly added emotional depth to the role of his wife. To put the audience in Nash's head, Howard used novel storytelling strategies, including holding back crucial elements until Nash himself recognized them. Jennifer Connelly won an Oscar, and the picture itself took home 4 statuettes as Best Picture, Best Director, and emotional impact for depicting the emotional weight of Nash's relationship with his wife. The film, which celebrated Nash's tenacity and accomplishments while altering public conceptions about schizophrenia, made nearly $313 million and globally on a budget of $58 million. It was proof of Howard's talent for turning real-life events into moving films. Howard was a master of both serious drama and fantasy, demonstrating his versatility with How the Grinch Stole Christmas. The live-action adaptation of Dr. Seuss's novel was no picnic, but Jim Carrey's performance as the Grinch ensured the picture's success throughout the Christmas season. Howard said that Carrey felt buried alive during the hours-long makeup procedure that transformed her into the Green Grinch. With a skilled ensemble and elegant production and a combination of comedy and emotion, he managed to keep the set atmosphere lighthearted. With How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Howard proved once again that he is a multi-genre master. Howard left an unforgettable impression on audiences with his ability to transform stories into captivating cinematic experiences, whether it was in science fiction, true crime psychological dramas, or children's fantasy. On November 17th, 2000, How the Grinch Stole Christmas came out. On a budget of $123 million, it became the highest grossing holiday film of all time, making $345 million globally, in addition to receiving nominations for production design and costume design. The picture took home the Oscar for Best Makeup. Tom Hanks played Robert Langdon, the protagonist of The Da Vinci Code, 2006, directed by Howard and based on the best-selling novel by Dan Brown. Langdon uncovered the mystery of the Holy Grail and a hidden religious society. Out of the gate, the film caused a stir. The Holy See denounced it. Boycotts were demanded by religious groups, and arguments emerged regarding the show's depiction of Christianity. But it was still able to turn a profit. On a budget of $125 million, The Da Vinci Code grossed $760 million globally at its May 17, 2006 Canadian release. 2 sequels, 2009's Angels and Demons and 2016's Inferno, continued the formula of historical mystery meets action that fans had come to expect. However, Howard did not achieve phenomenal success with every endeavor. Inferno's 2016 and an unrelated Star Wars film, a 2018, were 2 underwhelming features. As a result of waning interest from viewers and an unclear plot, Robert Langdon's Inferno a Third only managed to earn $220 million, despite a budget of $75 million. At the same time, Solo, a Star Wars story, had a lot of problems behind the scenes. Christopher Miller and Phil Lord were let go as original directors. The project was completed with the help of Howard. The film became the first Star Wars picture to be unprofitable, earning only $393 million, despite favorable reviews for the finished product. Howard persevered through it all by keeping his cool, taking pride in his job, and never laying blame at someone else's feet. Ron also left behind an impressive filmmaking legacy with these accomplishments. He and Brian Grazer established Imagine Entertainment in November 1985. The company has since produced more than 50 critically acclaimed features and television shows, including Empire, Friday Night Lights, and Arrested Development. When it came time to produce content for streaming platforms, Imagine Entertainment didn't stop there. They have worked with Disney Plus, Apple TV Plus, and Netflix. In 1986, the corporation became public for the first time, although it eventually went back to private hands. Worldwide sales were in the billions of dollars as a result of the acquisition in 1992. The film A Beautiful Mind earned Ron Howard 2 Oscars, while Apollo 13 and Frost Nixon both garnered nominations. Howard also won 2 Golden Globes, a Grammy, and an Emmy for his work on The Beatles' 8 Days a Week. Over $2 billion has been grossed worldwide by his flicks. On the Hollywood Walk of Fame, he has 2 stars, one for television 1981 and one for films 25th Eve. Imagine Entertainment, which he oversaw, received 217 Emmy nominations and 47 Oscar nominations. In 2003, Ron was honored with the National Medal of Arts, further solidifying his position as one of the most esteemed filmmakers in Hollywood. For Ron Howard, life is good when he's on his own. Ron and Cheryl first crossed paths while attending Burbank, California's John Burroughs High School. They had an unbreakable friendship even as adolescents. Ron was only 21 years old when he and Cheryl tied the knot on June 7, 1975. Their romance had already blossomed when Cheryl turned down his initial proposal so that she could concentrate on her schoolwork. Ron had complete faith in this choice and an unwavering resolve to create a loving family from the start. Bryce Dallas Howard was born to Ron and Cheryl in 1981, and their lives were enriched by becoming parents. Howard was born in 1985, his twin sister Paige and Jocelyn in 1987, and the youngest Reed was born in 1988. No matter what their individual paths took, from acting and screenwriting to private life or athletic careers, all of the children stayed close to the family, while Bryce Dallas shot to fame thanks to her part in Jurassic World. Paige dabbled in acting and scripting as well. Reed pursued a career in professional golf while keeping an active social media presence, while Jocelyn opted for a quiet life away from the limelight in Hollywood. Ron and Cheryl always wished for their children to live a typical upbringing, unencumbered by the demands of the entertainment industry, regardless of the paths each of their children took. They prioritized education and family stability over encouraging their children to behave at a young age. When Cheryl was expecting Reed, the Howards uprooted their lives and headed to London so that Ron could continue working and be there for the birth. This demonstrated their firm conviction that nothing matters more than one's family. They were humorous and creative even in choosing names for their children. An American city in Texas bears the name Bryce Dallas. It's named after the Carlisle Hotel in Manhattan by Paige and Jocelyn Carlisle, and after a street close to their house by Reed. At long last, the daughter of Cheryl Howard Ron and Paige Carlisle has spoken up, dispelling the notion that her parents' relationship was always picture perfect. In the past, they went through difficult times that nobody knew about, and they were so close to divorcing. Many are left to question whether they still find this love story reminiscent of a fairy tale. Have you been moved by any of his works, or are you a fan of Ron and Cheryl? Let us know what you think by leaving a comment. This story will pique your curiosity if you're looking for more genuine accounts of famous people's families and lives. To ensure you don't miss any of the newest videos, subscribe to the channel. Your interest in uncovering the truth behind Hollywood's glitz